Algebra 2, 5.5c, factor trinomials of the type Ax²+Bx+C. If you haven't seen the previous 6 videos, you might become confused because we've been slowly leading up to this video. And you can see all these links in this video's description so you can watch them first. So to factor Ax²+Bx+C, we make 2 sets of parentheses. We have to think of this of how we would FOIL. The factors for Ax² would be in the first spot of each parentheses. These would be the factors for Ax². Then, for this Bx², it's going to be this outer one and this inner one added together to equal that Bx. And these last values would be multiplied together to get that constant C. So for Ax² minus 2x minus 15, the first thing we notice is we have a negative constant. When we have a negative constant, as we said in the previous videos, that means we're going to have different signs in our parentheses. It's either going to be a set of plus and then minus, or minus and then plus. If they had been a positive constant, then they would have had the same signs, either plus plus or minus minus. We have this negative constant, so it's going to be one of these, okay? So for the 8x², we could do a 2x and a 4x. When we multiply them together, we get that 8x². Now for the outer one and the inner one, they've got to equal a negative 2x. Well, we already know there's a 2x here and a 4x here because we've already filled that in. So the factors for a negative 15 are a 3 and a 5. We just don't know where the negative or positive sign is going to be. Is it going to be on the 3 or on the 5? We take this 2x and we try the 5, and that gives us a positive 10x. If we put the negative 3 here to get a negative 15, see, negative 3 times positive 5 gives us the negative 15. If we put the negative 3 here, that's going to give us a negative 12. When we add the 10x plus the negative 12, it's going to get us that negative 2x. So we got lucky, see? So the negative goes here and the positive goes there. And then the factors for the negative 15 will end up being the negative 3 times the positive 5. See? Now take a look at this one. We've got a 12x² plus 34x plus 14. And we ask ourselves, can anything be factored out? So if we factored each one of these by a 2, we could see we have 2 times 6x², 2 times 17x, and 2 times 7. So 2 is a common factor of these terms, and we can factor it out. So we put it in front of a parentheses like this. Whatever's left over, the 6x² plus the 17x plus the 7, goes into a big parentheses together like this, and we're going to factor that. So what can be 6x²? It could be a 2x times a 3x, or it could even be an x times a 6x, couldn't it? This is going to be the two middle terms added together to equal the 17x. This can be a 1 times 7, or it could be a negative 1 times a negative 7 to get a positive 7. So we look for the pairs of numbers whose product is the 6 and whose product is the 7. Okay? So we know what our choices are right here. And we can either have a 2x in the front and a 3x in the front, or we can have a 6x in the front and an x in the front. And we know that the other values have to be a 1 and a 7, or a negative 1 and a negative 7. So we're going to try the positive 1 and the positive 7 in this one first, substituting it in. You try the different combinations to find the correct values. If we put a positive 1 here and a positive 7 here and we FOIL it, we're going to get 6x² plus 14 plus 3x plus 7. When we combine the middle terms, we get that positive 17x that we're looking for. See? So we got lucky on this one. It was the first one we tried. You can look at this one and say, well, if we put a 7 over here, whether it's a negative or a positive, we're going to get a 42 or a negative 42, and that's way too big for that 17. So we know that that's not the right one. It's going to be the 2x, 3x, but is it going to be the positive or negatives? See? And you just substitute them in. So that means that our original equation, this 12x² plus 34x plus 14, factors out as the 2. Remember, put that 2 that we factored out in front. 2 times 2x plus 1 times 3x plus 7. See? You just have to keep trying those combinations. Now let's take a look at this one. In this case, we're going to treat the x and y as a single variable and then look for binomials. So this x squared y squared, we can just put the x and y in parentheses with the square on the outside. This is going to be a 1 times 4, because that's going to help us get to the 5, isn't it? So we've got xy squared plus a 4 plus 1 xy plus a 4 times 1. We can put the xy in front in each set of parentheses. We can put a plus 4 here and a plus 1 there. We can check it by foiling it to see if it works. And when we do the center, we get xy times 1, which is the plus xy, and we get a 4 times xy. And when we add them and combine them, we get the plus 5xy that we needed. See? Now take a look at this one. We can break this up as 2x to the second y to the third times x to the second y to the third. We can break this negative 20 up as a 5 times a negative 4 or a negative 5 times a 4. It's going to be a negative constant, isn't it? So we're going to have two different signs, a positive and a negative, or a negative and a positive. So what we do is we try plugging in the positive 5 and the negative 4 to see what happens. And we can try plugging in a negative 5 and a positive 4 to see what happens. When we FOIL the center here, we get a negative 8x squared y to the third power plus a 5x squared y to the third power. When we combine these two terms, we get a negative 3x squared y to the third power, which is what we were looking for. If we had done it with this way, with the negative 5 and a positive 4, we would have gotten a positive 8 and a negative 5, and that would have given us a positive 3, which is wrong. So we know that the correct one is a plus 5 minus 4. See? And it gets us back to our original expression. See? All right, our next video is 5.6a, and we're going to talk about how to factor polynomials and choosing different methods, because there's a lot of different ways we've learned. I'm going to add this video to the Algebra 2 playlist. I am going to put links to 6.4a and 6.4b from Algebra 1 in here, and any of the previous videos that we've talked about recently, like all of these, are going to be in this video's description, so you can just click on them, okay? And if you're lost or confused, you need to watch these videos over again. Just spend a half hour of your life. You'll completely understand what's going on, and you'll be able to move forward. You don't want to go forward from here and learn anything else until you get this down, or otherwise you're really going to be confused. So I hope you're having a great day, and I'll see you next video. Bye.